Picture this. You wake up, stretch, and glance out the window. Instead of trees swaying in the wind or a sky painted with soft clouds, you see an alien landscape. On the moon, the ground outside is covered with a fine layer of gray dust, pockmarked with craters that stretch to the horizon.
Mars.
Everything is tinted red, from the soil to the hills in the distance, under a dusty orange sky. Hanging above it all is the Earth, glowing like a jewel in the darkness of space. This is not science fiction. This could be the future of humanity life, as a colony on the moon or Mars. But how would it really work? What would daily life look like? Could we truly call it home? The first step to any colony is the journey. The moon, being our closest neighbor, is about 384,000 kilometers away. With modern spacecraft, it takes only about 3 days to get there, roughly the time it takes to drive across a large country on Earth. Mars, on the other hand, is a completely different challenge. At its closest approach, it's about 55 million kilometers away. But at its farthest, it can be more than 200 million kilometers away. A trip to Mars could take anywhere from 6 to 9 months, depending on orbital alignments. That means supplies, timing, and crew preparation become far more critical for a Martian colony than for a lunar one. When we arrive, the first obstacle is survival. Neither the moon nor Mars has a breathable atmosphere. On Mars, the atmosphere is thin and made mostly of carbon dioxide. On the moon, the atmosphere is so minimal that it's almost non-existent. That means colonists would need sealed habitats with controlled air, temperature, and pressure. Imagine massive domes, underground bases, or even structures carved into the rock to protect against the harsh environment. Radiation is one of the most dangerous threats. On Earth, our magnetic field shields us from cosmic rays and solar radiation. On the moon and Mars, that protection doesn't exist. Colonists could face radiation levels far higher than we're exposed to on Earth, increasing the risk of cancer and other illnesses. To stay safe, our homes might be buried under thick layers of soil or built deep underground, using the planet or moon itself as a natural shield. Then there's gravity. On Earth, we've evolved to thrive under its pull. On the moon, gravity is about 1/6 of Earth's, and on Mars, it's about 1/3. Living in low gravity for years or even generations could have dramatic effects on our bodies. Our muscles and bones might weaken, our hearts could change shape, and our balance and movement would feel different. Colonists would have to exercise daily in specialized gyms, possibly with artificial gravity machines, to keep their bodies healthy. Food production would be one of the biggest challenges. On Earth, plants rely on soil, sunlight, and water. But on Mars and the moon, conditions are hostile. On Mars, the soil contains toxic chemicals like perchlorates, which would have to be removed before crops could grow. On the moon, there's no soil at all, just dry, dusty regolith. We would need hydroponic farms that grow plants without soil, using nutrient-rich water and artificial lighting. These farms could be built in climate-controlled greenhouses inside the colony, where temperature, humidity, and light are carefully managed. Water is another critical resource. Without it, survival is impossible. Fortunately, both the moon and Mars have frozen water. On the moon, ice can be found in permanently shadowed craters near the poles. Here on Mars, ice exists beneath the surface and at the polar caps. Extracting it would be a top priority. That water could be used not just for drinking, but also for farming, hygiene, and splitting into hydrogen and oxygen for rocket fuel. Daily life would be very different from what we know. On the moon, a day lasts about 29 Earth days, 2 weeks of daylight followed by 2 weeks of darkness. Colonists would need to carefully manage energy during the long nights, possibly using nuclear power to keep life support systems running. On Mars, a day is only slightly longer than an Earth day, about 24 hours. And 39 minutes, but the seasons are nearly twice as long. Because Mars takes 687 Earth days to orbit the Sun. Going outside would always require a pressurized spacesuit. There would be no casual walks under an open sky. Every step outdoors would be planned, with safety checks and communication back to the habitat. The suit would protect from extreme temperatures, low pressure, and harmful radiation. On Mars, dust storms could rage for weeks or even months, covering the planet and reducing sunlight. Colonists would need to prepare for long stretches without going outside at all. Social life in a space colony would be just as important as the technology keeping people alive. In small, isolated communities, cooperation would be essential. Everyone would have a role: scientists, engineers, doctors, farmers, and every person's skills would matter. Communication with Earth would also differ. On the Moon, messages could travel back and forth in just over a second. But on Mars, the delay could be up to 20 minutes each way. That means Martian colonies would have to make their own decisions without waiting for Earth's approval. Over time, these colonies might develop their own cultures, traditions, and ways of life. Children born on Mars or the Moon might see Earth as a distant, almost mythical place. They might even evolve physically to adapt to their new environments, perhaps growing taller in lower gravity or having different bone density compared to Earth-born humans. Energy production would rely heavily on solar power, especially on the Moon where sunlight is intense. On Mars, solar power would work but be less efficient due to the planet's distance from the Sun and frequent dust storms. Backup systems like compact nuclear reactors could ensure colonies never lose power. Long-term, the Moon could serve as a training ground for Mars and deeper space exploration. Mars, with its thin atmosphere and potential resources, could become humanity's second home, a backup planet in case Earth faces a catastrophe. Some scientists even dream of terraforming Mars, making it warm enough and thickening its atmosphere so humans could walk outside without a suit. But that could take hundreds or even thousands of years. Of course, the dangers are real. Equipment failures, radiation exposure, accidents, or supply chain problems could be life-threatening. But humans are explorers at heart. We've survived in the harshest environments on Earth, from the frozen poles to the deepest oceans. Living on the Moon or Mars would be one of the greatest challenges and the greatest achievements in our history. So, when that day comes and humanity begins its first great migration into space, the question will be simple. Would you leave everything behind? Travel millions of kilometers and call the Moon or Mars your home?